Welcome everyone to our 6th week of welcome event. This will be a panel discussion on how to make the most of your time at BPP. For those of you whose first session this is, welcome to BPP, welcome to the Students Association. And for those of you that have already been to some of our events, or perhaps a current student already, welcome back. It's great that you've joined us here this evening. My name is Sam Edwards. I've been a student president alongside Kurt for the previous 10 months. My projects that I work on include things such as the COVID-19 transition for students, wellbeing and student communications. I previously studied the postgraduate diploma in law at BPP Birmingham between 2020 and 2021. And this is actually my last hurrah this evening, as on Monday I resume my legal studies with the Accelerated LPC at our London Holborn Centre. This evening I'm joined by three illustrious panellists, BPP experts, each in their own right. And as Catherine said, just for getting started, we are recording this session and we'll try and make it available at a later date as well. So first up, we have Kurt Satney, who's completed several courses at BPP. Most recently, he did an LLM in fraud, financial crime, regulation and compliance. He's a previous recipient of the prestigious Pro Vice Chancellor Scholarship, which recognised his work in kind of improving inclusion and diversity at BPP. He's now president of the Students Association, where he has regular meetings with various individuals within the organisation, represents the student voice of over 14,500 students worldwide. He'll be hosting his own event on Friday at lunchtime, so do come along if you'd like to meet Kurt directly. He's a very friendly guy, and you can find all the information about that on our website. Second up, we're joined by Dave Hughes. Dave has had a long career at BPP and he's currently the head of academic support in our business school based in Shepherd's Bush. He leads a team of, I believe, 11 staff members and has experienced a whole range of student issues and concerns over the years, and in his current role kind of really focuses on helping students reach their maximum potential. Finally, we're joined by Jess Austin. Jess has been at BPP for over 14 years and is currently, no, not quite, okay.
Nearly 12, but you know.
Nearly 12, apologies. Jess has been at BPP for nearly 12 years and is currently the Associate Dean of Education Services. In this role, she works on numerous university-wide projects to enhance the student experience. Previously, she was the Joint Director of our Pro Bono team, and she's also a qualified lawyer, having spent 15 years in practice as a commercial dispute solicitor, specialising in professional negligence. And this year, Jess is going to be leading the BPP's work on the Race Equality Charter. So welcome, all three panellists. It's fantastic to have you here, and I'm really excited to see where this evening takes us. So what I'm going to do is dive straight in with our kind of opening questions, and I'll come to each of you in turn. If there's anything you want to add by way of introduction, please feel free to do that. And then throughout the session, I'll just call on you. But I'm really going to try and let you do all the talking from here on in. So our first question is quite a nice one to start off with, which is, what is your favourite thing about BPP? So this might be what makes BPP unique, or it might just be a little quirky thing that you really like. And I think I'll go to Jess first.
Oh, that's putting me on the spot, isn't it? Thank you, Sam. Oh, well, I think I would say it's kind of the diversity of BPP. There's so many different students, courses, centres, you know, the kind of fact that it feels like maybe a slightly different place depending on which centre you're in. I love that. My fantastic colleagues and kind of all the different areas that I get involved with. I mean, I don't think when I qualified as a solicitor I thought I'd end up being a mental health first aid trainer, but that's something that BPP's helped. So yeah, and all the different things on offer for
Absolutely.
Students as well.
And we're gonna dive all the way through all those things to offer. And Jess, you raise a really good point. I think when I started at BPP, I didn't realise there were multiple schools. And for students on this call who might not be aware, we have a law school, a business school, a nursing school, a psychology school, and a school of technology. School of technology in particular is really growing at the moment and delivering those kind of 21st century solutions to our student. So I'll come to Dave next. Dave, what is your favourite thing about BPP?
I think it partly overlaps with what Jess has just said. For me, it's the people, and it's not by people. I don't just mean the staff. I mean the people and the students. We have great admiration for our international students who've, I mean, I've travelled a fair bit myself around the world, but never have I gone to live anywhere else for any great length of time, and not having the language as my first language. So we have great admiration for you coming over here. And I think one of the things you'll find is the friendliness of the staff, the friendliness of fellow students. And if you can take a tip from me, head of academic support, the secret to your success is not just to pass. You don't just want to pass your course, want to learn. Actually go into your classes and have that feeling of, actually, it doesn't sound the most interesting of subjects on the surface of it, but I'd like to learn about it. And that engages us a lot more. It engages you a lot more. And your whole journey then just becomes a happier place because you're learning and you're enjoying learning. And that's a massive twist to just sitting with your head in a book and just learning by rote. So that for me is the biggest plus. It is the people.
Fantastic. And Kurt, what is your kind of favourite thing about BPP? And you can say the people as well, because clearly that is currently the top answer.
Well, as a matter of fact, from a student perspective, it's actually the people, the tutors, the teaching at BPP. I will tell you, students, is second to none. I am so happy that I chose this university to study, because we are being taught by practitioners in their own field. If you've noticed, Jess has already said she was a practicing solicitor. So there you are, you have a solicitor teaching you, you have a solicitor involved in pro bono, in charge of pro bono, and all of that is tantamount to BPP's commitment to students getting the best education they possibly can. And for that, Dave was also one of my tutors when I started here. And when I joined pro bono at the time, Jess was in charge of pro bono. So I've worked with them, and you see we have a special camaraderie right here and a linkage. So the teaching is great. And for me also, the support services is amazing because they are here for you. The library team, the learning support team, the Students Association, which I'm president of, not just because I'm president, I'm speaking about it. I know that it's a valuable part of your growth here as students. And you'll come to know more about these things later on in the discussion, but those are the things that really make me love BPP, and that's my favorite stuff in BPP.
No, that's great, and it's interesting that all the panelists have kind of brought out this idea of the kind of community at BPP and how that's what makes it special. So maybe we'll just kind of tangent there a little bit. A lot of the courses at BPP are quite short courses, by no means all, but a lot of them are. And perhaps just one academic year. So do the panelists have any tips in terms of for the students really kind of making sure they hit the ground running? A lot of our students will be starting the next couple of weeks. They might be anxious to meet their course mates. How can they really get off to the best possible start and enjoy themselves and enjoy that experience of being a BPP student? I don't mind who wants to start. Dave, maybe I'll come to you first in this one.
Thank you. Yes, to me, the best move you can make for yourselves is to make friends as quickly as possible. Obviously, with the COVID situation, it's been very hard for communication between students because you're only seeing a name in a Teams window or an Adobe Connect window. But as we're moving more back face to face now, I think it's very important to make to bond with somebody who, you know, who's in a similar situation to you, maybe doesn't know anybody in the city or the country, and to make friends as quickly as possible with as many people as you can, because obviously, you know, there are going to be more people suited to your friendship type criteria than others. So just get to know people as soon as you can, and don't, likewise, as we were all saying earlier, you know, don't be afraid to talk to the staff as well. We are human beings. The only real difference between us and you is we've done it before. We're not necessarily better than you. In 20, 30 years' time, you could achieve far more than any of us have achieved. It's just we've got experience, and we're in this business of teaching to pass that experience on to people like yourselves.
And Kurt, you're quite an experienced student. You've done some courses with BPP. How do you make the most of that experience that the tutors have? How can you really make the most of that time and try and not only gain as much knowledge from them, but also kind of learn from them in other ways, and really, you know, make the most of that those first few weeks as you meet your tutors and get engaged?
Well, as a student, I attended everything. So back in my day, the lectures were not mandatory, but they were face-to-face. I attended every lecture. Every tutor knew me because I was there all the time. I was reliable to attend. I participated in class. It's another good thing is when you prepare your work and you're able to participate in class. It doesn't have to be correct, guys. All you need to do is just participate, and you will get correction from the tutor if you're wrong, if you're going the wrong way. But at the same time, if you're correct, it's even better, because now they know, okay, this student is learning, this student is engaged, and it gives the tutors more enthusiasm to actually want to help and assist you with going forward. So yes, I've had several different experiences with teaching, and one thing I can tell you, I'll keep knocking on this, is that tutors care for you at BPP, and if you're engaged with them, if you're participating in class, they remember your name. Okay, Dave taught me in 2015, and when I became president last year, he was so happy because he remembered my name. He's like, oh, Kurt, I know Kurt. He's so happy that I was president. So they don't forget you, and that's how you leave this indelible mark on your on them, and you start yourself off on the right path from the get-go.
Excellent. And you mentioned there, Kurt, about getting involved in as much as you can as you start. And I think if I'm trying to be fair and honest, I say, you know, there's a lot of information that students have got to access in those first few weeks, and sometimes this information will be in different places, and it can be quite hard to kind of find out what you need to know about the different things that are going on at BPP. So maybe as a quite a kind of focused practical point, Jess, I know you've got a lot of experience with Pro Bono and the library in particular, and I know both those services host their own sort of events. Maybe you give us a flavour of the sort of events that they host as students start their courses, and tips on students of how to get involved with those.
Absolutely. Yes, I mean, really, I think you're right that there is actually so much going on that it's sometimes hard to know where to start. But obviously, if you can get links to Career Hub, which will show you events that the Pro Bono team are running. I appreciate that is perhaps more obvious to people on law courses than it is to others, but I know that we're now involving other teams in Pro Bono, including psychology students and business students. So don't feel that you're excluded from that. And there's all sorts of different things you could do. You could do street law sessions where you go into schools, and sometimes it's online at the moment, which makes it more convenient perhaps, and you deliver sessions to children. That's quite a good way of sort of testing your presentation skills and things, and you get to work in teams, so you get to know people there. Or you could get involved in one of our legal advice clinics, helping people to access justice where they can't normally. And again, you work with a really friendly team. There's a translation service, so it might not even be legal translation, but you could be really, really helpful if you speak another language. And then the library run lots of sessions to help you with research, referencing, how to use the library online. And obviously there's also all sorts of things advertised on the virtual campus, which we shouldn't forget about, including sort of more social events. But I think Kurt and Dave are absolutely right. The more you can sort of throw yourselves in and get involved and get to know people, the better time you'll have. Is there any specific thing anyone wants to sort of ask about? I don't know.
That was great, and all I say as well to if the panelists want to jump in on anything each other say, feel free to do that as well. Yeah, that's great. And for the students on the call, I'm saving a bit of time at the end for kind of questions as well. So if there are questions you want to ask all of our panelists or particular panelists, feel free to do that, and we'll save some time at the end. If we kind of then pivot again and we go down kind of the idea of almost all our students at BPP are in some form or another studying for a professional course or a professional qualification, which differs quite a lot from perhaps academic undergraduate courses or previous studies that students might have done. And often that can be quite a kind of challenging period, adapting the way you work in those first few weeks and kind of really trying to get your head around what the difference might be, but also what the similarities are as a student studying a professional qualification. So I guess that can be our first question in this sort of category. What are those differences between a professional and an academic studies? Are there loads of differences? Are there similarities? If I come to Kurt first this time.
Right, so the academic is basically the theoretical part of your studies, which you get on your undergrad, and your professional skills then come into play in your professional qualifications. Now, I've done the academic on the undergrad, on the LLB. I've done professional qualification on the bar, which is the BTC now, and then I went back to academics on the LLM. So I've done it all basically, and the difference is on the professional qualification, it teaches you how to prepare yourself for the workplace. This is what the professional qualification is there for. On the bar, it's about procedure in court, procedure with your clients, your professional clients, and preparing you for that aspect of your journey. Because when you come onto the professional course, it's a given that you already know the black letter law. We expect that you would know it because you've studied an undergrad or you've studied a PGDL and you've prepared yourself for that. And that is where the practitioner experience comes so valuable to you as a student, because on the professional program, you're taught by a professional in the field. On the LLM, for example, it's experts in their field teaching you on the course. On the bar, it's barristers. On the LPC, it's solicitors. In the business courses, it's business acumen people. So these are the things you must take great advantage of. It's because that they bring not just the work, the syllabus. Yes, they know that, but they bring you the practical experience that you need for the workplace. So you're taught how to prepare yourself for going into your career. And that is one of the advantages that you have as a BPP student, being taught by these professionals in their fields.
And Dave, how do you find sort of students handle that transition, or do students enjoy the kind of practical side of it, or are there any drawbacks or common pitfalls you can identify as students start those qualifications?
Very much at the business school, we are on the academic side, particularly with the postgrad and undergrad courses that we run. There are elements of professional elements in there, like the ACCA and the course that leads on to that with the ADAF. But I think, I mean, obviously everything Kurt has said I support, but I think for the academic courses, the study is theoretical, because you're not in 1 year or 3 years going to be able to actually set up a business. You're doing it on paper, and that has a lot of security that goes with it if it was to go wrong. But the professional people teaching these courses, you know, again, are there. They're the experienced ones there to give you advice. One student said to me once, actually I say once, many a time I would get asked, if these business tutors know so much about business, why are they here and why aren't they making, you know, a fortune like Amazon, you know, or out there on the street? And there are many answers to that. I was in software engineering as a computer programmer, and I found going into teaching computer programming was far more, I wouldn't say lucrative, but far more job satisfaction than actually going out there being a coder. And I think it goes the same for business lecturers. And I think a lot of our lecturers do have small businesses. They have run businesses. They've learnt from their pitfalls. I noticed a very nice acronym, Aditya, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, put in the chat there, one I've never heard before, which is FAIL. First attempt is learning, FAIL. And I think that, you know, the more you fail in life, the more you learn from it, and the better you are at helping other people avoid those pitfalls.
And certainly both with the kind of professional and academic sort of qualifications, I would say BPP's approach to teaching is very practical. You know, you have lots of opportunities to try things out, and to, you know, have your first attempt is learning as well. Certainly I've had a lot of those. Jess, have you got anything to add in terms of those kind of differences, or anything about the kind of particular style of teaching at BPP? What can our students expect as they start their course?
I mean, I think what's great about the sort of professional qualifications and the practice, that they are so much more practical, and you suddenly appreciate what it was you were learning and why, sort of thing, and putting them into practice. They often make a lot more sense than they did when you learnt them in a sort of more abstract way as academic. And as we've said, you know, when the teachers have got the experience from having done it in practice, they're teaching it in a way that makes it properly applicable. But I mean, that's not to say that academic studies are not great as well. And as Dave says, I mean, again, they're taught in a way that still means that they're kind of a bridging block, aren't they, to the next stage.
And certainly in the law school, the tutors there are years and years of experience, 20-something years, or 20 years of experience in the field. And some of them actually do still practice as well. So you're getting hands-on practical experience all the time. So it's something to immerse yourself into, and it may become a point where it's a lot of work, but at the end of the day, if you commit yourself to it and absorb all you can from these tutors, you will excel. That's for sure.
Excellent. Thank you very much, panelists. That was a very good section, I think, and you covered some good ground there. If I'm going to be harsh, I'm going to try and get you to boil down a point into quite a small, succinct point. And my next question is, you know, what is your top tip? If you had to have one tip, and you may have hundreds of tips, but what is your top tip for success during your studies as a student? I'll give you a moment to think about it, because obviously that's quite difficult to do. And I'll give the kind of audience my top tip just as you're thinking about it. But my top tip would definitely be organisation. I think it's absolutely fine to take your time doing things and to kind of, you know, not always get things right the first time. But if you're organised with your time and, you know, you designate time for tasks, and you appreciate when sometimes you need to move on and come back to something at a later date, being organised is an absolute must. And I know a lot of kind of tutors at BPP sort of say, you know, treat your course almost as like the first day of your career, and try and treat it more like a kind of a job than just studies. And I found that to be a really useful tip. But has anyone else got any tips? Jess, maybe I'll come to you for the first tip.
Thank you. Well, it's funny you say that, because actually I remember when I did the LPC way back when, I think I was the first year the LPC ran, in fact, so it's that long ago. But I'd already worked for a year in a sort of admin job, and so I did sort of say to myself, I'm going to treat this like a 9-to-5 sort of thing. I found that very helpful to really, I mean, obviously you have to work it round other jobs that you're doing to pay for it, but I think try to not think, oh, I haven't got a lecture till 12, I'll lie in this morning was not, you know, wasn't going to be the way to get through it. I think it is all about organisation, and I think I'd say what our student said about preparation as well is kind of is key. The more you do, the more you reap from it, which is kind of what Kurt was saying as well, and Dave. So thank you.
Excellent. And Dave, what is your top tip for success during your studies?
Well, not wishing to dodge the question, but I've actually already given mine in the last time or so, and I honestly stand by it. The difference between wanting to pass and wanting to learn is such a massive contribution to your success. I'll give you an example, a little anecdote of years back when I was doing my A-levels. I was doing A-level maths, and I was good at maths. Sad to admit, but I was good at maths. And the teacher would come round and he'd look at my paper and he'd tick, well done, Hughes, yeah, well done, 100%. And the one that sticks in my mind, and we're talking a lot of decades here from when I was at school, was something that I'm sure you all heard of, and that's standard deviation. You know, mean, median, mode, and statistics and standard deviation. I used to get 100% in all the standard deviation questions because I knew how to plug the numbers into the correct variable in the formula. But I'm darned if I knew what the answer meant. So I would calculate the standard deviation and the answer would come out 1.6. Well done, Hughes, tick. I'd turn to the guy next to me and say, 1.6 what? And somebody might say standard deviations. And I was one of those people who wouldn't put my hand up and say to the teacher, I've got the answer right, but I don't actually know what the answer means. And it wasn't until I got to university that I confided in a classmate, because we were doing statistics again in the first year. Quite often that's the case, where you repeat stuff you've done at school. And this guy took me aside and he explained to me what a standard deviation was. I'm not going to bore you and explain to it here, but that motivated me because I actually now understood it, and I wanted to understand it because I'd gone 2 or 3 years through high school not knowing what these things meant. So it's a combination of you self-motivating yourself and actually saying, yeah, standard deviation is boring, but I still would like to know what it is. And then as you start to learn these things, what they are and what they mean, and in business in particular, if you are at the business school, you know, the 3 Ps, the 5 Ps. Apparently, I've learned recently there are 7 Ps, price, product, that sort of thing. Again, it goes in my head. But if you can think, I want to know about that, take the trouble to do that little bit of extra research. Get a book out on it. Do that little bit of extra reading, even if it's only half an hour a day. That will massively contribute to your learning, and again, I know I'm repeating myself, but you'll enjoy learning rather than just asking the guy next to you, what's the answer to A, what's the answer to B, what's the answer to C, and just passing the course. You've achieved nothing really. So my top tip is develop that desire to want to know, to want to learn.
I think that's an excellent tip. Thank you very much, Dave. That's really
You're
good. Really like that. And Kurt, what would be your top tip for success?
On the course, I'm going to piggyback on what Sam said about being organized. Time management, guys, is crucial, especially because, as Sam mentioned before, the courses are not very long. It's not 3-4 years. It's a few months, if not a year. So you don't have a lot of time to prepare yourself for some of the courses that you'll be pursuing. So time management is important. I worked for every single year that I was on every course. I worked part-time and I studied full-time. And what got me through that, guys, is proper time management. I'm not saying you won't procrastinate once in a while. I'm not saying you won't say, you know what, I need a break, let me just. But if you are on top of it, then it doesn't get on top of you. If you're not getting overwhelmed by the work, because the work is what's going to overwhelm you and cause you to be, oh my God, this is too much, this is too much. If you allow yourself to not get overwhelmed by it, by ensuring that you manage your time properly around it, then you'll be all right. There are 7 days in the week, yes. And I'm not sure, it used to be 15 hours of course of classes during the week. Is it still the same way, Dave? I don't know. And you have other hours in the day. Yes, you may work part-time because, of course, we know how life is. But if you're able to at least devote some time, schedule some time for getting your work done, prepare, like Aditya said, prep. Then you come to class, you're already prepared because you've done half the job. And in class now you just absorb what's coming in. So you just absorb what's coming in, and you're going to be on top of everything. So time management, guys, is crucial, and that's my top tip. Be on top of it with the time management. Once you do that, you don't get overwhelmed. You're organized, like Sam said. You're structured. You come to class, like Dave said, ready, prepared to do the work, and then you can carry on with your course and not just pass, but excel.
I think that's brilliant, Kurt. And I was just going to say, and if you've done that, you've also hopefully left yourself some time to actually fit in some other things like exercise and socializing and things that actually help you cope longer term, because you can't study all day and all night, you'll go mad, won't you?
Yeah. And that almost ties in a little bit to what Dave said as well, is when students approach these courses just like, I want to just pass the exams and finish, you're missing out on a really great opportunity, and there'll come a point where you'll no longer be a student, you'll be in the professional world or your chosen career, whatever it is you want to do, and you'll probably look back, and obviously we know it's, you know, there's parts of being a student that are really hard, particularly at the moment, particularly in recent years, but there's also parts that are really fantastic. So you know, do enjoy it and find the little thrills along the way of your student journey, and find those people in the community that you want to hang out with and chat to and learn with, and you'll have such a more enriched and fantastic time. So we're doing really well. We're getting through the session, and thank you as well to everyone watching for participating in the chat. That's really great to see, and it makes it so much more rewarding for all of us doing the speaking. We might come back to a few more academic tips, but I want to sort of move on now, and we're going to have a slightly a fun section, if you like, where I'd like to go through some BPP life hacks, as I'm calling them. So these are little nuggets of information that you might not know, or things that might be of interest to you. And our first one, which I thought was quite a nice question, hopefully, is to ask all our panelists about what their favourite BPP study centre is. And for those of you that don't know, we have quite a few study centres across the UK and multiple in London. But specifically, whether you've got any recommendations nearby. So this could be your favourite cafe, or your favourite local pub, or a park nearby, or somewhere you'd advise students going out for their lunch break. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So Kurt, maybe we'll come to you first.
I've studied at Shepherd's Bush, I've studied at Waterloo, and I've studied at Holborn. I don't want Dave to get upset because he's at Shepherd's Bush, but my favorite center is actually Waterloo, simply because Waterloo, it's very nicely located. You have South Bank just a few meters away to walk to. And there are so many things to do there, and sometimes you can take a break from the studies and go there and just see life. And there's a lovely Jubilee Park there as well. And just down the road you have the Lower Marsh, where you can get some street food for your lunchtime. And there's a little park there where I used to go all the time to have a break. And in that park, there's a Jamaican doing some jerk chicken there as well, so that helps as well. And of course, you have that huge station, which is, I think it's open all the time, to be honest, because I used to leave the library at 11 p.m. every night. I'm not saying this is something you should do, but because of my commitment to my studies, because don't forget, like I said, I worked part-time, so my weekends most of the time used to be in my work, in my part-time job. So during the week, it was all dedicated to studying. And yes, there's connections in Waterloo to everywhere, basically. And so and I like the library in Waterloo because I don't know, I'm able to study better there. I think Holborn for me is a bit too busy, but that's just my opinion. But it's not busy as in noisy, guys. It's just that there are many students on the LPC and the BTC over there. So Waterloo, I think, and there's so many restaurants around it. It's my favorite. I hope I didn't offend you in any way, Dave, or anyone going to Shepherd's Bush.
No, that's excellent, Kurt, and thank you for choosing Waterloo. That's great, because we'll hopefully have a nice mix. And I particularly like your point about Waterloo Station, and I suppose for our international students as well, London is a fantastic place to be. But do get out, explore the rest of the UK. If you've got time, head to the coast. There's hundreds of places you can go across the UK, and it's a really lovely thing. I love going outside of London for a weekend and just sort of refreshing your mind a little bit. But Jess, we'll come to you next for your favourite study centre and things you like doing nearby.
Thank you. It's really hard to choose, actually, and what you say about going outside London. I mean, I do love our regional sites. I have been lucky to go to them all, I think, and I'm particularly fond of Leeds because that's where I was an undergraduate, and so I love Yorkshire, and I like all the different things nearby. They've got a huge market and various things, but the one I'm most familiar with, so I'm very fond of too, is Holborn, which having worked there for years, I like the fact I can walk from the station my train comes into through Covent Garden and take in all of that. There's always something different to see. And then once in Holborn, I like walking down Red Lion Street. And if you continue on, you get to Lamb's Conduit Street, which is a very lovely street. It's a little bit over the top in a way. It's all there's no chains. It's all a lot of quite fancy shops. It's more for looking than probably buying, but it's got a beautiful women's authors bookshop called Persephone Books, and it has a very nice restaurant where we've had some team meals over the years called Ciao Bella, and a couple of good pubs. And I like the fact there's bowling near Holborn. I think it's called All Star Lanes, and there's a flight club if you want to do darts, and there's bounce for ping pong, so you can have quite a jolly time, and then British Museum if you want a bit of culture. So yeah, but I also don't want to offend anyone else, and I also am fond of Shepherd's Bush too, and I like who's found there.
Excellent. And without anticipating where Dave might choose his favourite centre, Dave, over to you.
Thank you. It's interesting actually, because I Shepherd's Bush, Kurt, is absolutely spot on. I mean, I was there for years in the one school and literally avoided going anywhere else, and absolutely loved it. And I still do love it. But since COVID and since the getting back into campuses, I've been based at other campuses a lot more now, and I'm beginning to feel equally good about all of them. Everybody's obviously going to have a different opinion, and to some extent, your favourite campus will be dictated by how easy it is to get to. Another reason why I like Shepherd's Bush, even though I live in Essex and it's the longest commute for me, it's the one where I can more or less guarantee a seat going in and coming home. Whereas if I only go half the distance to Waterloo, I have to stand up all the way back. So there's all sorts of things that are going to influence your opinion. So I guess the main thing to focus on is the areas themselves, because let's face it, once you're in campus and you're in a classroom, you could be anywhere. Classrooms look pretty much the same. If you just magically got beamed up into one, it'd be very difficult to know which campus you were in. So what have we got? Well, Fitzwilliam House at Bank. I don't know whether anybody's on a programme that's there. That's what I call a little bit of the elitist area. I mean, BPP are obviously very proud. We've got a campus right next to what they call the Gherkin. I'm not sure what the correct name of the building is. Does anybody know? Kurt, you're on mute.
Isn't it the Gherkin? I think.
No, that's its nickname.
Is it St Mary's Axe?
Well, St Mary Axe is the street.
Is the street.
St Mary's Axe.
But it could be St Mary Axe building. I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, it's a big gherkin. I say gherkin. I don't think it looks like a gherkin at all. But it's a huge, famous landmark of London, and it's a very pride of place to be. But the area is quite elite. It's quite expensive. It's full of banking people. It's full of. There's a lot of money there, and I don't fit into that bracket, so I feel kind of left out, not being one of the rich elite. So in terms of area, it's a beautiful area, and it's very easy to get to. It's It's equidistant between Bank and Liverpool Street stations. We are, I think, developing new premises in Aldgate, due to be opened later on this year in the summer, which again is highly central and highly easy for people to get to. What else have we got? So Waterloo, I agree with you, Kurt. I've spent a lot of time there these last few months, and I love it. Absolutely love it. It's on the riverside. I say it's on the riverside. I mean, the Thames in the winter just really not necessarily the most beautiful colour of water, but I guess rivers around the world are pretty much the same. Holborn, the business school doesn't feature in Holborn, although I've been there regularly in the past. And again, I think Jessica, you summed that up. It's a lovely area, and you've got everything shops wise. And I think Catherine, you've already mentioned it in the feed there, in the chat feed. Shepherd's Bush, Westfields, what's not to like? 2 minutes behind the BPP campus is Westfield Shopping Centre, which is massive. It's just been extended. There isn't a shop there that you don't need, and isn't a shop there. There's every shop there that you need, is what I'm trying to say, and every restaurant from. You've got a couple of quid, you can get a meal for that. You've got 12 quid, you get a meal for, it's just got everything. And Shepherd's Bush is very diverse. You wouldn't feel out of place there because there is every nationality as you walk up and down the street. And I've come to love it over the years, as Kurt pointed out. Where have I gone at lunchtimes at Shepherd's Bush? Obviously, Westfields have gone Chinese restaurants, Indian restaurants, a little jeweler shop, get a new battery for my watch. These are all within 2 minutes walk of the campus. I won't drone on about my back problems, but I get a lot of back problems. There's a massage centre 2 doors down from BPP. 35 pounds I think I paid for a 40-minute massage there, came back to work and I felt a lot better. There is just literally everything in that main Uxbridge Road where Shepherd's Bush is based. I will tell you that finding it is difficult. If you walk down the Uxbridge Road, it's embedded between a barber's shop and Nationwide Bank, and there's a tiny little BPP sign at the top. I remember when I went for my interview there nearly 10 years ago, I must have walked past it 3 or 4 times. It's a difficult spot, but once you get in, you go through a glass door, through a tunnel, and then it opens out into 2 superb buildings where the teaching takes place and where the faculty is and where the library is, and they've got good library facilities there as well. So verdict, I'm not going to commit myself. I think they all have their pluses. Find out for yourselves. If any of you are coming to the business school, we're also from the end of this month teaching in King's Cross as well. We've got a campus in King's Cross, which is on the Pentonville Road. If that means anything to anybody, it's just a name on a Monopoly board to me, but it's very near, obviously, to the King's Cross train station, and again, central, easy to get to. And I gather, I've not been to King's Cross for many years. It used to be a little bit of a dare I say, dodgy area, a bit rough, but apparently it's been cleaned up over the last 10-15 years, and it's a really nice area to be in. So yeah, we've got some pretty good London locations.
Yeah, and King's Cross is definitely it's modernized now, including the station. So right. Very, very lovely. Yes. And one thing I can tell you guys, if you notice, all of the study centers are near to great connection points, train stations, buses, easily get to. So these are the advantages we have with our centers around London.
Yes, no, it's brilliant. And yeah, you can go to so many exciting places. I was in King's Cross on Friday, went to York, which was lovely. That's a good place to go for a weekend if you fancy getting out of London.
No, excellent. And yeah, that's a really great sort of ode to all our study centres. Do visit them, and if there's something you feel like that's missing in those study centres, I'm sure we've sort of hammered this home at various points throughout the week, but do let us at the Student Association know. We want these centres to be the place for students to be and to enjoy, so do pass on that feedback. Right, I'm conscious of time, and I do want to give the audience a chance to ask any questions they have. So, thank you to all the panelists for your answers so far. I think it's been a really great discussion. I really enjoyed listening to all of you and all of your views. So what I'll do, if you've got any questions, just pop them in the chat, or alternatively put your hand up, and we can come to you. This could be about what to get involved with outside your studies. It could be about things that students might not know at BPP. Whatever your question, you can ask it, and we'll give a couple of minutes to see if anything comes through. But got some questions here. Okay. Teo has asked the importance of attending SGSs, which are small group sessions on our LPC. But if there are times you can't make the session, how do you advise us to catch up? Is there recordings / notes, or we have to work it out for ourselves? So do any of our panelists want to take that one?
Yeah, I can take this one. Yes, you will get the SGS recording. It's available to you. There is also small recordings before the session, which prepares you basically for the session. But you will get, there is availability of the SGS session afterwards for you to catch up, because again, we are here for you to succeed. So yes, when life happens, we understand that you may not be able to attend one day or not. So we make that available to students, definitely. And it's always good, even if you're unable to attend the session, to also still prepare for it, because it will serve you towards the ending of the term, or ending closer to exams, where you've covered the topic at least. You were not there in the class to see it live, but you've covered the topic and you're prepared, preparing yourself for the exam at the end.
Thanks, Kurt. And Charlotte has asked what the panelists think the best kept secret at BPP is. So who would like to take that one, or you can all chip something in if you'd like.
I'll leave that one to Dave, he's been here.
I'll give it a go. I'll give it a shot, Sam. I guess a best kept secret means I wouldn't know what it was, but I'm often the last person to get to know secrets. I'm not sure why that is, but again, I apologize. I'm talking particularly for the business school, and this is quite a serious point. My team of personal tutors that support students who are on resets, one of the regular occurrences that we come across are incidents of what we classify as plagiarism, where somebody has perhaps copied too much from the internet or from some other source and not referenced it properly. And I guess, I don't think it's a secret, but we reach out to students all the time saying, look, my team is there to help you avoid that happening. So reach out to us before you submit your work, so we can give you feedback and tell you, actually, yep, you've got too much similarity there, Turnitin's going to throw that out, or the marker's not going to accept that kind of referencing. You know, be proactive. That's the secret, is to be proactive. Don't submit it, fail, and then come to us and, you know, find out why. Try and do it beforehand. My mission before I retire from BPP is to reduce the number of students on the final sit, which is a third sit. If anyone doesn't know, you get 3 attempts at every assessment before your course is over.
Yes, I think I've lost you, Dave. I don't know if the other panelists have as well.
I've lost them as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I have to. Yeah.
We'll press on then, and Dave, when you're back.
With the chat and
on why you failed the first time.
Back.
Dave, we lost you for a minute.
Oh, at what point?
Now.
Do you know?
You got to. You mentioned how you get 3 sits.
Oh right, yeah. Okay, yeah. So my mission is eventually to not have to contact people on a final sit and stop people ever getting to a final sit. To intervene with them and say, okay, you failed the first time, that can happen to anybody, but let's have a look at it, let's find out why you failed the first time and make sure you don't fail the second time. But we can only operate as the most successfully if the students are coming to us and saying, check this for me, I'm not sure, I've used this resource and I have referenced it, but I'm a bit worried, maybe I haven't paraphrased it enough, maybe I haven't put it in my own words enough. We can advise you on all of this before you submit your assessments. But as I say, I apologize, I am referring to students on the business postgrad and undergrad courses.
No, that's great. And just very quickly, I guess one secret I just thought about, which I promised that I'd advertise recently, so I must do so, is that BPP have an app, a hub app, so you can access your learning resources on the go. And I think that is a bit of a best kept secret. I'm not sure all our students know about the app, but that's my very quick secret. Jessica, have you got any you'd like to add quickly, and then we'll begin wrapping up?
That's a really good one. I was just going to say, I mean, I just think there are so many teams and things who will help you and give you added value. I mean, I always, particularly for law students, but other students too, I would always say the pro bono team, there's so many opportunities you can get. You can build on your employability skills so much. There's so many interesting projects. So yeah, do contact them if you're at all interested and see what you can do. And I think Kurt is an absolute advert for you know, getting involved and how that takes you. But I'd also say a big shout out for the library team too, and say how much they will help you with individual issues if you've got them, and you know, do make use of all the amazing resources. And I guess, you know, on the online library, we've got so many things. You know, you can really get involved with LinkedIn Learning and all the different resources, and it's worth, you know, spending some time and familiarising yourselves.
I'm just going to go to the chat and have a chat. I noticed a lot of, I don't want it to be that the Student Association is a secret. It should be known to all students, but our website, I think all students should know about. It has all the information that you need as a student from start to finish. Every single aspect of your BPP student career is covered on our website. Any question you want the answer to actually is covered on our website. It's a good place to go to get information immediately, but it's all there, and also on the hub as well. But our website covers all aspects of your journey from start to graduation. So I think I will promote this here, bppstudents.com. Thank you, Catherine. And that's for me. I want it out there, so I don't want it to be a secret. bppstudents.com.
Excellent, thanks, Kurt. I see we've got a technical question from Sheed about enrolment, so I'll answer that very quickly. If you've sent those documents, you will be in the process of being enrolled. If they're missing documents, they will contact you. At BPP as well, we have a status called temporarily registered. So as long as you've got, you know, as long as you've got your timetable, you've got access to your hub, you have been temporarily registered, you're able to participate fully in your course. Students always worry about getting confirmation that they've been enrolled. If you've sent all the documents to that email address, you will be in the process of being enrolled. Don't worry about it. You can start your course, you can start your programs, you can get your council tax, your bank letters, all of that, absolutely fine. So although it's not directly asked your question, you don't really need to know that you've been enrolled. You will be enrolled and you'll get that confirmation when it comes, but you can participate fully in everything else in the meantime. So finally, we've got a question from Ada, which asks about what is one of your favourite student societies or extracurricular activities that you come across, which is a great question. So this will be our last question. I don't know if you want to take that or if one of you wants to take it, but I'll hand it over to the panel to sort of close us off. Go on, Kurt.
What's the question? What is my favorite student society and extracurricular activity?
Or extracurricular.
For me, it's pro bono. I love pro bono, guys. If there's one extracurricular activity you can do, and I'm thinking we're actually getting more pro bono into business now. Is that right, Dave? I hope so. But as a law student, guys, that is the one thing you can do that serves you for the rest of your career in law. In fact, it doesn't matter what career you're going into. Get involved with pro bono, because the projects we have are award-winning projects. Our entire pro bono team is an award-winning team, and the projects are, oh my goodness, the best experience of your life. You'll be working with not just, you'll be working with the general public in some of the projects. You'll be working at I worked at the residential property tribunal when I was on my bar as a student advisor and a student director on that program as well. So you'll be working directly with the general public on real live matters. So it gives you that practical experience that you need, and you can have it on your CV. Of course, it's going to be one of the brightest stars on your CV. So get involved with pro bono. That's my favorite extracurricular thing. And the student association, guys, because I was also a student voice rep for many, many years, long before a lot of our present members of staff on the student association. And it is one of the things I would say is very rewarding, because you get to be part of the decision making of the university. You get to see it live in action, and you get your input is actually taken on board. You get to see your input in things happening around. And you say, oh my God, this is something I assisted with. This is I brought this from my feedback. So Students Association, pro bono, and now also EDI. I was also very much involved in EDI as well. I know too many extracurricular stuff. I can't choose one. Sam, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Excellent. Thank you very much, Kurt. Jess and Dave, anything you'd like to add?
I think the question was probably, I interpret it more aimed at more leisurely activities. In which case, in my experience, I must admit, when I was much younger, I used to get involved far more in the student activities. But over the years, I know that there was a BPP football team. Sam, do they still have that? The students that I spoke to, sorry, you're on mute, Sam.
We do. We've got a Leeds team, and I believe we might have a five-side team as well.
But certainly students that I taught really enjoyed that, and also cricket, I believe. Which of course
definitely still have cricket.
Yeah, but obviously maybe a bit seasonal. And there were times when we did we had Bollywood nights, basically cultural themed nights, which are obviously going to be biased towards that particular culture. But if we can get a variety more of those, they were very popular. And also boat trips up the Thames, they proved to be very popular. You know, a lot of us know a lot of geography around the world, but even if you go to that country, quite often there are places that you never visit. So getting students to get on a boat and just relax and have a coffee or even a drink if you want to, and nibbles and just a 2 or 3 hour trip up the Thames and see things. And I think some of them show films as well on the boat, which I kind of think is a bit counterproductive. If you're going on a boat up the Thames, what are you doing staring at a screen watching a film? But we'll leave it up to you. These are things.
Especially it's Titanic. You don't want to watch that
Yes. Nice one, Sam. Yes.
That would be a bad one.
Titanic on a boat. But yeah, that's my 2 pence worth.
Brilliant. And I was going to just say what you've said, Sam, which if you think there's something missing and that there's a club you want to start, then go for it. See if we can get something going. But hopefully, COVID permitting, there'll start to be possible to have a few more in-person societies, and that'd be great. So you can enjoy it.
And we do have our resident expert on the call, Catherine, so we can talk more about this to you.
I wish I could talk more about it, but I think it's a perfect way to end this panel, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Sam, I'll let you wrap it up.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, just thank you so much to our 3 panelists, Jess, Dave and Kurt. You gave some fantastic insights there. So please join me in saying thank you to them wherever you are, if it's appropriate to give a small round of applause. But yeah, thank you very much. And I do hope you all have a fantastic evening.